Hello, everyone, and welcome to a very special episode of Mindful Moods and Mental Grooves. May is Mental Health Awareness Month, and I wanted to do something special for this episode. In previous episodes, we have talked to some of the best professionals in the field to talk about the help that they provide to clients. Every episode, we have talked to people giving the help, but what about those that are receiving it? So on this episode, we spoke to those getting services at the Children's Service Center, Robinson Counseling Center, and Cunningham Primary Healthcare Center in northeastern Pennsylvania. You are going to hear from parents, teens, and adults that get services there. They all have their own stories, and they all receive different services at the organization. There are two things that I want to mention. One, for their privacy, everyone's names have been redacted and they are not on camera. Instead, I'm going to be sharing some photos that the staff in the organization have sent to me. Secondly, these are not paid actors. Everybody volunteered and was willing to come and talk to me. I was so happy to hear that each one of their stories were amazing, and I'm thankful that there are mental health organizations out there such as this that provide a quality service. If you yourself are struggling with your mental health, fighting addiction, or just need somebody to talk to, please take the time to watch this video. I hope you enjoy.
Today I'm feeling emotional and excited. I suffer from major depression, and without the support and love from the services and my therapist, I wouldn't be here. The biggest challenge for me is fighting through it, and having the support and the peer support that I do have from my friends is great. I've gotten a lot closer to them. The connection with my parents has gotten stronger. They understand me a little bit more. My mom, she's like my biggest advocate. I can really relate to her and she can relate to me. So she understands the struggle and the battle, and she's so proud of me. Be more open to the mental health. Everybody has some problem. Everybody struggles and everybody tries, and it's a journey. It's a journey, not a destination, because your battle to where you are now is what makes you who you are. And it's the most powerful thing that you could do. Fight and grow to become stronger and learn how to deal with your mental health. I have accepted my depression and my other mental health issues that I do have. I think that's something that everybody needs to work on, is just accepting their problems and their disabilities, because it's growing.
Today I'm feeling really optimistic and hopeful. I've met a group of friends where we all have something in common. We are all working on overcoming something. I was dealing with the depression and I was isolating, but it made me want to come back. Through an episode, I lost housing, I lost my job, I was in a manic episode, and you present like you're on drugs when you're in a mania. And it felt great to have a wonderful support team to help me pick up the pieces, because I realized that's a big thing with mental health. And I used to feel exhausted over it. It's like, do good, fall, pick up the pieces. And it just feels, it feels good to honestly take a little of that stress away from my mother and my sister too, because they were my biggest support. It was really upsetting. I wanted to take my life because I'm like, I'm either going to be depressed or I'm going to be annoying. I was watching some TV show, and the one character, he was bipolar, and he had to explain it to his friends. And he said, sometimes I'm lazy, sometimes I'm crazy. And it's the perfect way to put it for me, where I don't feel like it's an illness or a sickness or anything harsh. And it doesn't always have to be bad. It doesn't. We need to fight that bad with the good, and it's just a great community. I've been told I won't be able to be in relationships, and I love fighting the stigma of mental health every day. If I was hold true to textbook definition, I'd be psychotic a lot of the time. And I love fighting that stigma and just proving it wrong. And I wish people would give services a chance. I think therapy is wonderful, and I think people often roll their eyes and don't give it enough chance. And I tell everybody too, what's great about the Children's Service Center is you guys have so many therapists that if you don't like one, try another. It's a great place to be. I'm always very grateful, and I get emotional at least once a week in our group checkouts. I'm still struggling. and I rapid cycle, and it feels just very great to know, because it's a journey, not a destination. If I stopped services, that's one phrase I would say I took away.
To be honest with you, I didn't know how to feel. I had experienced counseling in the past, different outpatients and stuff like that, and I don't think I ever really wanted to be clean as much as I did today when I started services here. So I really gave it a chance. I was open-minded. I took the suggestions and got really comfortable with the facility and who I was working with. I was afraid of being honest and open. Actually, the way I was raised, the way I grew up, my father used to always say, don't tell them anything. Don't let them know what's going on at home. Don't let them know what's going on with you. And so when I was living the way I was living and getting in trouble and stuff and doing the wrong thing, I was afraid of being honest and open because I was thinking I was going to get in trouble. I can't tell them what's going on or what's inside or how I feel because they're going to think I'm crazy or I'm, doing something wrong, because I technically was. This time around, when I got clean and sober and I started, coming to outpatient drug and alcohol, I was really willing to stay clean, and I knew that I had to open up and do what they were telling me to do and take the suggestions, because I didn't know how to stay clean or what to do other than what they were suggesting, During active addiction, I was always looking for something to fix the problem, right? I had an issue, I'd go and use, right? Today, I know that using is not an option. So what I found recently when I think to myself, I wonder, if I think I'm having a craving or a trigger, not even a craving anymore. I don't get those, to be honest with you. I get triggered, and that may cause me to think about, maybe a relapse or using. And when I think of that, I think to myself, oh, I don't want to reach for that drug or whatever. I want to reach for my support system. I want to reach for a coping tool or mechanism that I've learned through this process. And, through the counseling I've learned that I can reach out to others for support. I've built a very good foundation through this process. You asked how the services have changed for me. I thought at one point I would end services, oh, okay, I'm cured, quote unquote, but now I know that going to counseling isn't just for when you have a problem or an issue. It helps me to continue to stay on the right path and progress and learn and grow and heal constantly, rather than, let me wait till there's a problem to go fix it. Let me just continuously work on myself. When I started to, again, have thoughts of am I ever going to go back to the life that I was living before? No. I can honestly sit here today and say no, because I know that there's a better way. I know I don't have to use today, and it's because of the counseling and because of the supports that I have. And because of the counseling and the services that I was offered, I found a new way to live, a way to have healthier relationships and be happy. And it also helped me to become who I am in my career today, right? And now I'm able to give back to others, and I see what I was taught and what they had offered me, and I'm giving it back, and it's full circle, and it's a beautiful thing. Be open-minded. Take the suggestions. If you're going to be open-minded, then you really shouldn't feel it's not going to work. But main thing is being open-minded. And, if you make a mistake, just be open and honest about it and get right back on track. Mistakes sometimes are necessary. It's what helps you realize that's what you don't want anymore, You'd be surprised how much it helps to listen to others that have been in the same spot, or, they kind of know what they're talking about, even though, I used to say all the time, I know, and I didn't know anything until I really started living that way, I personally have lived so long in the lifestyle of using that it was normal to be a drug addict. It was normal to have crazy mental health issues, right? It was just a normal thing, but it was an insane way of living without going to get help for it. So now I try to look at it it's normal to have had a past and be a recovering addict, and it's normal to have mental health. And if you're not looking for help or going to services for it, that's where the problem lies. There is a stigma, unfortunately. I haven't really seen much of it because I think I try to choose to ignore it, and the people I stick myself around are mostly recovering addicts as well, so it's really not brought up that much, but every once in a while it does, pop in, and I try not to let it bother me, that's all, I guess. we all know right from wrong. We're supposed to know right from wrong, right? So it's like, okay, don't do drugs. All right, yeah, but it's not that simple. You can't just tell me not to do drugs. I'm not gonna, I had to literally be, again, open-minded and willing to take advice from somebody else, which, I had heard that advice before, but I never really applied those things to my life about, going to recovery meetings, joining a home group, getting a sponsor, that type of stuff, being in a fellowship, communicating and saying how I felt out loud to another person was huge for me.
Today I'm feeling nervous yet excited. I was very nervous and scared because I was so scared to leave behind the relationships that I had, which in hindsight weren't even really relationships that were meaningful or even good for me, you know what I mean? But at that time they were. So I was very nervous about that. I was also nervous about admitting to myself and to my whole family and friends and whoever that I had a problem. So that aspect, it was just terrifying. And then just going into the unknown is terrifying for anybody. The Robinson Center was really extremely helpful, and I love everybody there still to this day. They became family to me, honestly, and really great experiences all around. But the main thing is I learned that I had to work it in order for it to work for me. You know what I mean? I couldn't just sit there and not talk. I couldn't just sit there and not participate. I had to as well put in the work if I wanted to see the outcome that I got. It for sure does. Yeah, I took a lot of the tools that, I was given, because before all this, I used to be a very shy, timid, naive type of person, didn't really know who I was. And the drugs kind of helped me to numb all that out and to become a different person. But it wasn't the person I wanted to be necessarily, but it gave me a bit more courage, not in the right ways. But after all this, I found tools that I was able to use in order to become a better person and the person that I wanted to be, and not be that young, naive, let people take advantage of me type of person. So it definitely changed the way I handle challenges, for sure. I didn't notice a change in myself until way after, but the thing is, in retrospect, I was changing all along. I didn't notice it. All these small little changes, and it took forever, it seemed, and my counselor over there, the group facilitator, he calls himself, would always say baby steps and low-hanging fruit. And it's you don't realize all these tools and all this change that you're gathering until all of a sudden one day it hits you and you're oh man, I am a completely different person, and there's been so much change, but it was very hard for me to see as I was changing. And I'm sure in a year from now, I'm going to look back, I'm going to be wow, I'm still so different now than I was a year ago even, it's just change never stops, which is a good thing. In my experience, it was I needed to do it for myself. I couldn't do it because all these people wanted me to do it. I couldn't do it because the law was making me do it. You know what I mean? I needed that change for myself, and I needed to go in there with an open mind, and I needed to accept the help that was given to me, because throughout this whole thing, it was I didn't want nobody's help. I was so untrustworthy of everyone. And I just, from everything I've been through, it was I couldn't believe anybody wanted to even help me, really. I felt they had their own ulterior motives to try and help me, you know what I mean? And I had to go in there with an open mind, and I just had to let the process go, let go and let God, as they say, whoever your God may be. But it's true, you gotta just have an open mind, and you gotta actually want it, and know that the instant gratification, you gotta put away that thought process, you gotta work for that long-term satisfaction, because that's what's gonna in the end make you happy and have that solid foundation. I hear all the time that oh, people who are addicts should just be shot and just this and that and this and that, and it's that's such a sad thing to say and a sad way of thinking. But it's they, just like us, have our own type of diseases and are in our own journey on our own level. And it's I just wish that they would look at it in a different light, because you could be addicted to anything. It doesn't have to be drugs or alcohol. It could be anything that you do in excess that's overcoming your life, whether it be gambling, sex, drugs, alcohol. That's an addiction in itself too, Anything that takes you out of your life, an escapism, is an addiction.
I want to say that when I first thought about getting services, oh my God, that was so nerve-wracking. It was so intense, and I honestly didn't know how to feel exactly because I knew that I needed help. I just didn't know where to start. My biggest hesitation is cultural. That was my biggest hesitation because in my culture, if you seek any type of therapy, if you don't solve your issues yourself, you are considered weak. The biggest things that I learned after I started seeking services of therapy was that you can love anyone from far away. That was the biggest thing. That was so hard for me. Like in order for me to show you that I love you, I have to allow you to treat me whatever way you please. And that is not the case. You can still love so much anyone, either it could be family, friend, anyone from far away, without allowing them to pass your boundaries. Like when you set boundaries, if they want to go and not respect your boundaries, you don't have to allow them to do that. You can still love them from far away. So that was my biggest lesson I tried to teach my kids as well. It was hard. I didn't know how to change the way I handle the challenge that I face because I'm a very perfectionist and I like control. And throughout my sessions, I learned that I don't have to control everything, and I'm not responsible for other people's actions, and I cannot tell them how to act, how to feel, how to treat me. I can only control that myself. So it's still a challenge. I'm still working on it, but I'm getting there. It's a process. It's not perfection, which is something that I struggle. I always seek perfection instead of progress. So I had to shift it and search for progress instead. I was in a very narcissistic relationship. When I realized that my session were working was when I didn't allow this person to control me. When I noticed the change, I said, okay, I can get out of this situation. And that's how I noticed that therapy was working. Find something that calm me. In my case, making puzzles is one of my favorite things. So when I feel anxious and when I feel like I need a break, I just go and start doing a puzzle. It doesn't work for everyone because not everyone likes mental challenges. I do like that. So I do puzzles, I take long showers, I drink water very, very slowly. So I just finding what works for you is the best thing to exercise. And also for some people, meditation works. Meditation for me doesn't work as much because my brain tends to go way too fast and it doesn't help me. But making my brain concentrate on something difficult like puzzles allows me to calm down and kind of it's an exercise for me, so that works. It's a lot of discovering. It's not comfortable discovering. So whoever thinks that they're going to therapy to solve like a magic wand, like wave it and it's fixed, they're sadly mistaken. Is a process. So you have to be willing to rediscover yourself, to work through the sadness and the challenges and the anger. There is a lot of anger. Well, it was within me. So you have to work through that first, and then you will start noticing a few changes. You change the perspective. It takes time. So people need to allow themselves to do this slowly. Every time you take a step back and then move forward, you have a different perspective, and you have and you noticing more. You open your eyes, and sometimes it's not the people problem, not necessarily your problem, it's just the situation. So be kind. That's how my therapist said, be kind to yourself. If somebody is in a shipwreck or in a sinking boat, before you help them, you have to identify what kind of survivor they want to be. And I identified 3 types of survivors. The ones that know that the boat is sinking, the ones that know but doesn't know how to save themselves, and the ones that is in denial that the boat is sinking. So once you identify what kind of survivor they want to be, then you help them. If the person that you're trying to help is in denial that their boat is sinking, let them, because otherwise they're gonna drag you with them and you're gonna drown as well. If the person knows that the boat is sinking and they know how to survive, allow them to. Unless they ask you for help, don't try to help them. Allow them to help themselves. Now, if you identify that the person is the one that knows that the boat is sinking but doesn't know how to help themselves, then that's the one that you should be focusing your health, because they identify that they have a problem and they're working towards it, but it's not working. So that's when you lend your help. Otherwise, just let them be. Let them be, because that doesn't mean that you don't love them. That doesn't mean that you don't suffer with them. It's just you need to protect your peace. If you feel within you that you need some sort of help, just go ahead. Take the first step. It may be huge. It may be extremely simple that you may only need maybe a year of therapy. Who knows? Just don't be afraid. People will always talk. There's always a stigma for people that seeking mental health. But don't think about that. It's what works for you. And so if you hesitate to seeking help, just go ahead and do it.
Today I'm feeling grateful I could do something like this and help somebody out. I really had nowhere to turn. I was in the hospital. The first time I was in the hospital was for alcohol. I went down to 132 pounds. I almost died from that one. But the second time was even worse. Second time I was coming off I don't know what, benzos, alcohol, barbiturates, fentanyl. I don't know what I was taking. It was bad. It was bad. It was real bad. I don't remember too much. They said he's not gonna live. There's no way he's gonna live. It's impossible. I've been through the place before. I have 10 years sober. Over 10 years sober, without alcohol. With the drugs, I only have 9 months. Right now, I'm 180 pounds, and I'm not a skeleton no more. The place saved my life, and I'm not kidding you. It really did. If anybody has any reason not to come to get help, please just come get help. It's worth it. It's possible. You're not hopeless. I didn't have no hope before, but I have hope now. I have a lot of hope. Treatment changed my life. It really did. I have friends now. I give people rides to meetings. After I started helping people and getting friends. See, I was so bad. I just thought nobody liked me, and I was just a waste. I wasn't even worth the food I put in my mouth. That's how bad I felt about myself. I am so happy with my life now. I'm just happy helping people. Ever since when I was a little kid, that's all I wanted to do was help people. And I help people all the time now. And this is the reason I'm doing this podcast, is because I want to help somebody out there that went through something like at least similar things that I went through, to get help before it gets as bad as I got. It got so bad. Nobody should live the way I lived. Don't lose hope. Don't ever lose hope. I bounced, my first rehab was 1984. I bounced for 40 years. It takes strength to look for help. My strength comes from my weakness. I quit smoking, I quit drinking, I quit the drugs, I quit everything. And I'm living such a happy life right now. I go on picnics, we go on walks, we go fishing. I pick people up for meetings. We go meeting hopping instead of bar hopping. I go to counseling. I get help I need. Very happy with my life, and I wouldn't have given it away for nothing. I don't want to change anything about my life. I love it just the way it is.
I was really skeptical about services at first. I thought I was past the point of help. I would say my biggest fear was that my issues would be too much, or that I couldn't explain my problems right. I thought that it wasn't a good idea to go in because of my age, and I thought that, I wasn't going to be able to get help because I was seen as like, oh, she's like a bigger kid. She should handle her own problems in that way. I would say my biggest takeaway I've learned from services would be the validation. I really like being validated and understood. I've gained a lot of understanding about myself and my life in general. It's changed my way of handling my little life challenges by allowing me to question why I respond in specific ways to various situations. It's also making me more aware of my surroundings and my sense of control, which is a really good thing that I'm learning how to accept. A moment I knew that services were working for me was when I had a really bad day. A lot of triggers, a lot of emotions, but I was able to come out of it, handling it in a good way, and not resorting back to those coping mechanisms that I used to do before. And I really knew that I had grown a lot without even noticing, honestly. Some tools that I'd say I still use are self-talk. Like if I'm in a situation that's stressful or triggering for me, I'll just talk out loud to myself, like, this is what you need to do, this is what's gonna happen, and then I honestly just go from there. Kind of like I'm two people, you know? For me, that's really helped me gain a lot of knowledge of who I am in different situations, and that's really helpful. It honestly took me a long time to see the results of my services. Like, honestly, it was really slow burn. Just one day, day by day, I started learning more about myself and accepting more about myself. Like, I used to hold myself to this really high standard of, this is who you are. There's no room for improvement. There's no room for growth. And then once I stopped pushing that on myself, I started learning more about my own demeanor and who I am. Me and my family used to argue a lot, especially me and my mom. Part of it was because I wasn't ready to take responsibility for my own faults and emotions, and that got us into some very emotion-led conversations. I truly do understand myself more and more, like, every day. I'm no longer scared of understanding the way my head works, and because I've been able to process my own thoughts and emotions, I've become a completely different person from who I was, and now I'm able to listen to people and take constructive criticism without feeling horrible about myself, which I think is a really good thing. If you think about it too hard, you're going to convince yourself that you don't need it, and you need it. Like, even if you think that my issues aren't big enough for this or anything at all, you're worth it. You're worth that attention, and it's okay for people to need help. We're only human. There's only so much that our minds can take by ourselves. So yeah, just jump right into it. You are really worth the attention, and it's okay to not be okay, but you're gonna be okay, and you're worth being seen.
Today, I'm feeling happy. I felt nervous opening up to someone that I didn't know, and it took a couple therapists before I found the one that was right. One of the biggest takeaways that I've learned from having services was just take the first session to, get to know the person, and then take the next one to have them get to know you, and then just kind of take it from there. It has changed the way I've handled challenges for sure. I've definitely used self-talk, just I'm okay, it's gonna be okay, and I try to say them 3 times. I'll say in my head it's gonna be okay, it's gonna be okay, it's gonna be okay. Or don't worry, it's gonna be okay. And just say it out loud or in my head 3 times, and that normally helps me. And I try to pick a couple ones that I can do that relate to the situation and challenge that I'm facing. One moment that I've realized that my services were working was just when I was in a very anxious moment, and I was just searching my brain for all of the coping skills that I've learned. And I found a couple, and I just stuck to it, and it really helped me calm down, and it helped me bring down that anxiety level a lot. Advice that I would give to someone considering getting services for the first time would be, honestly, do it, because it helps so much. And even if you're scared, I was really scared, just honestly just go in and think, well, this person's here to help me, and I'm okay. You can do it. Definitely use the self-talk.
Going into it, I'm going to be so honest, I was utterly terrified. I was 15 years old, just starting to experience some different mental issues, and you only ever really heard of or saw what mental services are like from movies and TV shows and books. So going into it, I immediately thought I was like, I'm gonna be labeled as crazy. They're gonna send me away because I was self-harming at the time as well. So it was immediately like worst case scenario. I'm going to my head, thinking I'd be judged a lot. So I was really scared going into it first, but I also kind of knew underneath that I needed to get the help if I was gonna get better. But it was just like, I was like a scared little teenage kid, you know? I'm able to compartmentalize a lot better in my head because at first going into it, everything was kind of like a scrambled, tangled knot of yarn. I couldn't think clearly. I couldn't rationalize and kind of separate the absolute truth from what I was kind of making up in my mind and overblowing. So that really helped kind of untangle that ball of yarn. So now I'm able to, I always give myself like 10 minutes to freak out about something, and then I could sit back, ground myself, and I'm like, okay, what are the facts? What is true in front of me, and then just kind of deal with it and figure things out from there. I was probably like around like a sophomore, junior, was struggling with a lot with panic attacks. When I was able to stop a panic attack and work through it without it getting to an absolute extreme, I was like, oh my God, like this is actually working. And even like with Jill with EMDR, that was the first time I ever did that kind of therapy as well. And I was not gonna lie, I love Jill so much. She is amazing, but I was very skeptical going into it. I was like, how is me staring at a light bar gonna help me reprocess trauma? And then it worked. Like I wasn't getting worked up over everything. I was like, oh my God, this is working. Holy shit. Like, so that was like another big one too. I was like, wow, this actually helps me. It definitely has helped make me a better daughter, a better friend, a better girlfriend as well. That's something that therapy has helped me with a lot as well, where I sit down and I kind of work through what people have kind of done to me in the past, but it also helps me take accountability because I've not been the greatest person in the past. I will be the first to admit that. There was a time where I was undiagnosed, I wasn't properly medicated, so I was off the rails. And looking back on it now, I was like, I was not a good person back then. I did and said things that hurt a lot of people. So kind of nailing down that diagnosis and working through my behaviors to kind of figure out how I can manage those and get properly medicated, proper help to not only help myself and make myself a better person for me, but for others as well. Because that's something I'm very hard on as well, is that yes, you have your own issues and that affects you and you really got to work on yourself, but it's not an excuse for how you treat others as well, because other people do come into play with it. So it's really helped overall just become a better person all around. It's okay to be scared. It's okay to be nervous. That is a completely normal feeling and emotion to have, because you're kind of going into an unknown, but taking the first step to decide to get help is one of the most major steps. So even considering and deciding to get help, you've already accomplished a really big hurdle. Just go into it with an open mind and know that you're not crazy, you're not insane, and there's nothing wrong with you. That's like a big thing that like I struggle with for a long time. There is nothing wrong with you. You're getting help to help make yourself a better person for yourself and others, and it's going to be okay. I know that's such a cliche, but it honestly, God, it is really true. There is a light at the end of the tunnel. You are going to be okay. Things are going to get better. Like, please do it. It's going to be amazing in the end.
Today I'm feeling like a long-tailed cat in a room full of rocking chairs. I was apprehensive as with anything new or unknown. I was defensive and I was distrustful. I was afraid of what would become of me on my own and hopeless, afraid of being misunderstood. I'm a little more mindful and deliberate. I'm better at coping and planning. Well, just when I realized that I have something to look forward to, still use the meditation beads that my first therapist gave me more than 30 years ago. The therapy helped right away, and I started taking Prozac, which was heavily advertised as a miracle drug in the early 90s. I think it has made me a little more reasonable and more empathetic, communicate a little better. With a deeper understanding of myself, I'm more forgiving of myself. I'm more likely to forgive myself. But to take that risk and let your defenses down, be brave. Asking for help is a sign of strength. Be open-minded. When I was younger, the stigma was terrible. It was unspoken, but we have evolved. Not too late. There's always hope that there are people who are compassionate, who get you. I had a fear of being misunderstood, that I was beyond hope or help. I was mistrusting.
So today I'm just feeling blessed to have been asked to be here and grateful for the staff of CSBBH who work at the Shamokin area elementary school. Without their guidance, I strongly believe the struggles we faced would have been more than exhausting without their support. As parents, especially as a mom, I was very anxious. I know I'm probably not just saying this for myself, but no parent wants to feel like they have no control over their child or understand how to heal a broken heart that you didn't create. This was all new to me. The behaviors that we were experiencing, the troubles our son was facing were really putting a wedge between all of us. And there was a lot of fear in the unexpected, but we did take a leap of faith and accepted the services, not knowing what to expect or if we'd even make it this far. I'm blessed to say that April has overcome many obstacles with their help. My biggest fear was not having control of every situation. April was experiencing many of his troubles in school, so of course we had control at home. We were right there with him, but in the school, we had to just trust the system and pray that he was in good hands. Before the services, some teachers did not understand the extent of fear I felt going into school every day, and it was rough for a few years before school-based was introduced to us. It is okay to ask for help. I remember feeling so disappointed in the beginning, like, why can't I help my own son, or what am I doing so wrong that he has all these troubles? But our biggest lesson was to humble ourselves and say that we couldn't do this on our own. We praise Jesus today that these services are available, and it's okay to say that you can't do it alone. We all face troubles in our life, but we've learned throughout the therapists and the sessions that not every situation needs a major reaction. Sometimes you just have to pause and reevaluate what to do next. When we realized the services were working was their compassion. Miss Sarah, Miss Brianne, Miss Maya, Mr. Matt, they've all shown us so much grace. The level of support that they have given us is unmatched. I now trust in my heart because of their support that I don't have to worry about advocating for April when he's at school, because I know that they will do it for him. They've stood up to bullying, both students and teachers, holding April accountable when he has been wrong, and praising him for his good behavior. Those are just some of the ways that they've helped April both in school and at home. Like I said earlier, just taking a minute to think before responding to a situation has really helped all of us. And although sometimes it doesn't always work, that's been our biggest takeaway. Something that sounds so simple was really so trivial. Through school-based, we were able to continue their services, receive referrals to doctors and specialists that didn't seem to hear us before. Once we had an official meeting with his team and set up appointments with doctors and psychiatrists, we were all collectively on the same page, so to speak. And things really did start to move in the right direction, but it took time and a lot of patience. My biggest advice would be, if this service is offered to you, accept it. If someone is offering you the chance, I highly encourage you to just give them a chance. If it's not working or you feel like you're not gaining anything from the services, speak up. It really is a tremendous opportunity.
And I think it took a little while for me to get really fully honest in therapy. And I think that, we all kind of presume that people judge us, like between friends and family, and that same presumption carries over into therapy. And for me, it took a little while to drop that kind of fear and presumption. And I just, I projected that at my therapist. And after a while, I kind of realized that, hey, no matter what I say or do in here, the therapist is going to treat me the same. They're going to be just as kind to me, and they're going to be just as gracious with me. And that's thanks to the therapist's infinite grace and patience, which I am tremendously grateful for. And I started to realize that after a long period of time, and that made me look at therapy entirely differently. And so instead of looking at the therapist, I was now looking at therapy as like a whole, if that makes sense. And looking back now, I see that I just became more honest, and that was kind of the internal realization that I'm doing this for me. And although, obviously I know that, and that's my goal, it sort of removed the therapist and some of those fears from what I was trying to do here, and that really liberated me in a way to get a lot more from therapy. It depends on what fears you have, but for me, I would say, allow it time. Give it time to really work for you. I know a lot of people are kind of reluctant to start a new relationship with some therapist, since it's professional and there's worries of trust. But I just, for me, it always comes together over time. I've had different therapists, and after a certain period of time, I feel safe and I feel comfortable, and that I find that relationship just tremendously beneficial. It's one of the things I look forward to the most during my week or my month or whatever. And, just allow it time, because I think everybody needs somebody to talk to. And if you're looking at getting therapy, you should, really consider giving it a shot. Be kind to yourself, be compassionate, and be patient. And you'll find it definitely worth it. In this place and with my therapist, I feel like I can be who I need to be and say what I need to say. And that's pretty cool. Very grateful for that. I think one of the biggest takeaways I've had from having services here is just seeing the value of being honest with myself and being honest with others. And I can be honest with myself, sure, but being honest with others it's a much more difficult thing to do. And when you have a place where you feel comfortable in saying what you need to say, it really makes you realize that you don't know how good you can feel and how free you can feel until you're able to do that with somebody. And it's really, really very beneficial, and it makes me realize that I deserve the help and I'm not a burden, and so does everybody else. And from time to time, sometimes you feel like you don't deserve the help or don't need it, and you're a burden. And getting that help here has also allowed me to ask for it outside of here, and seek out relationships and allow myself the opportunity to ask for the help in just friendships. And that's something that I really needed, I'd really benefit from, and I think everybody benefits from. And you should give yourself the opportunity to say, I deserve this and I'm worth it. And that's been pretty awesome for me. So I noticed that a lot of times the therapy often leads to self-compassion. Like, in one way or another, what I'm not doing is I'm not giving myself the patience or the kindness to figure things out, or just be nice to myself. And in one way or another, it always leads to just me being hard on myself in some way. And that's one of the tools I've taken away from this is I try to be a little bit nicer to myself. I try to be a little bit more patient. I try to be a little bit less rough with deadlines, because I know just from years of therapy and experience that I'm probably not doing that. In some way or another, I'm being too hard on myself, and it's hindering my progress here. And that's one of the things I could always use.